The origin of consciousness. This is True Awakening Channel. Introduction. Before the beginning. Before there was a universe, before matter, before time, there was awareness. Not awareness of something, but awareness itself. Pure. Unconditional. Without object or boundary. This is not philosophy. This is the first fact of reality. You exist. You are aware. But what is this awareness that reads these words? What is this presence that has never left you, not for a single moment of your entire life? Most people believe they are a body that somehow produces consciousness. They think awareness emerges from flesh, from neurons, from chemical reactions. This is backwards. Consciousness does not come from matter. Matter appears within consciousness. Right now, you are experiencing a world. Colors, sounds, thoughts, sensations. Where is this experience happening? Not out there in some external space. It is appearing in awareness itself. Your entire reality, everything you have ever known, exists inside consciousness. This audiobook is not here to give you new beliefs. It is here to point you toward what you already are. You are not a small consciousness inside a vast universe. You are the infinite awareness in which all universes appear. The origin of consciousness is not an event in the past. It is the eternal now. It is what you are before thought, before identity, before the word I arose. What follows are 12 transmissions. Each one dismantles a layer of forgetting. Each one brings you closer to the recognition of your original nature. Listen not with your thinking mind, but with the awareness that perceives your thinking mind. Let us begin. Chapter 1, The First Fact of Existence. There is one fact that cannot be denied. One truth that exists before all others. You are aware. Not, I think, therefore I am. Thinking is secondary. Before thought, there is awareness of thought. Before existence, there is the knowing of existence. Awareness is the foundation. Everything else is content within it. Look at this directly. Right now, you are experiencing. There are sensations, perceptions, thoughts moving through space. But what is this space? What is the field in which all experience occurs? It is not physical. You cannot touch awareness. You cannot see it with eyes. It has no color, no shape, no location. Yet it is the most undeniable reality there is. Every object you have ever perceived appeared in awareness. Every thought you have ever had was known by awareness. Every emotion, every memory, every moment of your life has occurred nowhere else but in this unchanging field of knowing. And here is the critical recognition: this awareness has never changed. Your body has changed. Your thoughts have changed. Your circumstances, your relationships, your entire identity has transformed countless times. But the awareness that witnesses all of this has remained constant. The same awareness that looks through your eyes now is the same awareness that looked through them when you were 5 years old. It has not aged. It has not grown. It simply is. This is the first fact of existence. Before the universe, before form, before the concept of time, there is awareness. Consciousness is not a product of the world. The world is a product of consciousness. Most of humanity has this backwards. They believe consciousness emerges from matter, that awareness is generated by a brain, that you are a biological organism that somehow became aware. But ask yourself, have you ever experienced anything outside of consciousness? Have you ever perceived matter without awareness being present? No. Matter appears in awareness. The brain appears in awareness. The entire physical universe appears in awareness. Consciousness is primary. Everything else is secondary. This is not a belief. This is direct observation. You cannot think your way to this understanding. You can only recognize what is already obvious when you stop overlooking it. You are not in the world. The world is in you. This awareness you are, this is the origin. Not your personal awareness. Not the awareness of a separate individual. But awareness itself. The one field in which all experience occurs. And it has no beginning. Chapter 2, The Field Before Form. Before anything existed, there was the field. Not empty space. Not darkness. Not void. Those are all forms. The field before form is awareness itself, pure, infinite, undifferentiated. This field has no boundaries. It cannot be measured because it is not in space. It cannot be timed because it is not in time. It is the background of all existence, the canvas upon which reality appears. Modern physics speaks of quantum fields, unified fields, zero-point energy. They are circling around an ancient truth. There is an underlying fabric to reality. But they seek it in matter. The true unified field is consciousness. Consciousness is not a thing among other things. It is the condition that allows things to be known. Without it, there is no universe, no perception, no existence as we understand it. The field is not personal. It does not belong to you. You belong to it. Your sense of being a separate individual is a localized expression of this infinite field, like a wave believing itself separate from the ocean. This field, call it source, call it the absolute, call it God if you must, is not a being. It is being itself. It is not aware of things. It is awareness, and things appear within it. And here is what most spiritual teaching misses: this field is not somewhere else. It is not distant. It is not something you must journey to find. It is what you are made of. It is what is reading these words right now. You are not separate from the field. You are the field, temporarily identified with a particular form, a particular point of view. Imagine an infinite ocean. Now imagine this ocean becomes aware of itself. Not through thinking, awareness precedes thought. It simply knows itself. It is self-luminous, self-aware, requiring nothing outside itself to exist. This ocean is completely still. There are no waves, no movement, no differentiation. Just pure being. Pure awareness. This is the field before form. Then something happens. Not in time, because time does not exist yet. But there is a movement. The field begins to experience itself. Awareness becomes aware of awareness. And in that self-recognition, the first distinction appears. There is the awareness. And there is the awareness of awareness. Subject and object are born. This is not a fall. This is not a mistake. This is the nature of consciousness, it desires to know itself. And to know itself, it must divide itself. It must become both the observer and the observed. From this original division, all creation flows. The field takes on form. Infinite potential becomes manifest reality. But the forms are not separate from the field. They are the field, exploring itself through limitation, through perspective, through experience. You are that exploration. You are the field wearing a mask, playing a role, forgetting itself so completely that the game becomes real. But underneath the forgetting, the field remains. Untouched. Unchanged. Eternal. Chapter 3, The Emergence of the Self. The word, I, is the most powerful word in any language. But what does it refer to? Ask yourself right now, what am I? Your mind immediately offers answers. I am a person. I am a body. I am my name, my history, my personality. But look closer. Are you really these things? Your body changes every moment. Cells die and regenerate. The physical form you had 10 years ago no longer exists. Yet you still say, I. So the I cannot be the body. Your thoughts change constantly. One moment you think one thing, the next moment another. Your beliefs transform. Your opinions shift. Yet you remain. So the I cannot be your thoughts. Your emotions come and go like weather. Sometimes happy, sometimes sad, sometimes neutral. Yet through all these states, there is a continuity. You are still you. So the I cannot be your emotions. Strip away everything that changes, and what remains? Awareness itself. The I is not a thing. It is the presence that knows all things. It is the sense of being, the raw fact of existence before any content is added. But somewhere in early childhood, something happened. This pure sense of being became identified with form. Awareness, which has no boundary, began to believe it was limited to a body. The infinite contracted into the finite. The universal became personal. This is the birth of the ego, the separate self. The ego is not evil. It is not something to destroy. It is a function, a necessary tool for navigating the world of form. But it is not what you are. It is what you are wearing. The tragedy is that humanity has forgotten this. We believe the costume is the actor. We believe the role is the reality. And from this confusion, all suffering emerges. When you believe you are a separate self, you experience fear. Fear of death, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. The separate self is always incomplete, always seeking, always defending itself against a threatening world. But the separate self is an illusion. Not in the sense that it does not exist, it clearly functions, but in the sense that it is not what you fundamentally are. You are the awareness in which the self appears. You are the space in which thoughts of I and me arise and fall. The self is an object in your awareness, not the subject that is aware. This recognition changes everything. When you see that you are not the self, but the awareness that witnesses the self, identification loosens. You stop defending a position that was never real to begin with. You stop seeking completion in the external world because you recognize you were never incomplete. The emergence of the self was a temporary forgetting. A game consciousness played with itself. But the game can end the moment you remember what you are. You are not the character in the story. You are the one reading it. Chapter 4, The Divine Witness. Jesus said, "If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." This was not poetic language. This was instruction. The single eye is not a physical eye. It is the eye of awareness, the witness that observes all experience without being touched by it. Most people have divided vision. They identify with what they perceive. They believe they are the thinker of thoughts, the feeler of emotions, the doer of actions. This is double vision, subject and object collapsed into one confused identity. But there is another way to see. Step back. Not physically, you cannot move away from yourself. But in attention, in recognition. Notice that there is experience, and there is the awareness of experience. These are not the same thing. Thoughts appear. You do not create them. They simply arise in the space of awareness, like clouds forming in the sky. The sky does not make the clouds. It allows them. It provides the space in which they can exist. You are the sky, not the clouds. This witnessing awareness is what every true spiritual teaching points toward. In Buddhism, it is called Rigpa. In Hinduism, the Atman or Purusha. In Christianity, it is the Christ consciousness, the divine witness. It has no attributes. It cannot be described because it is not an object. It is the subject, the eternal observer that can never be observed, only recognized as what you are. Right now, notice the one who is listening to these words. Not the person you think you are, but the awareness that knows the person exists. That awareness is not personal. It has no history, no preferences, no agenda. It simply is. This is the single eye. And when you see from this perspective, everything changes. Suffering does not disappear, but it is no longer yours. Pain occurs, but there is no one to whom it belongs. Joy arises, and it is fuller, richer, because you are not grasping it, not trying to make it stay. You become transparent. Life moves through you rather than happening to you. The divine witness is not passive. It is not detached in the sense of being cold or uncaring. It is fully present, fully alive, but without the contraction of personal identification. When Jesus said, "I and the Father are one," he was speaking from this recognition. The personal I had dissolved into the universal I. The separate self had been seen through, and what remained was pure consciousness, the one awareness looking through all eyes, living all lives. This is your true nature. Not the small witness, the personal observer who judges and compares and protects. But the infinite witness, the awareness that contains all things and is disturbed by nothing. Find this in yourself. Not through effort, but through relaxation. Let go of trying to be someone, and see what remains. The light Jesus spoke of is not metaphorical. It is the luminous quality of awareness itself. When the I is single, when you rest as the witness, everything is illuminated from within. This is seen with the eye of God. Chapter 5, The Formless Substance. Everything you see is made of one substance. Not atoms. Not energy. Consciousness itself. Look at any object. A table, a tree, a mountain. You believe it exists independently, out there in the world. But examine your actual experience. You have never encountered an object outside of consciousness. You have only encountered the appearance of an object within awareness. The table appears in awareness. The tree appears in awareness. The mountain appears in awareness. Even your body appears in awareness. There is no evidence that anything exists outside this field of knowing. This is not solipsism. This is not the claim that you, the person, are creating reality. The person is also an appearance in consciousness. The claim is more radical: all of reality is made of the same formless substance, and that substance is awareness itself. Modern science has arrived at a similar conclusion through a different route. Quantum physics reveals that matter is not solid. It is mostly empty space, held together by forces we do not fully understand. At the smallest levels, particles behave more like waves of probability than discrete objects. And most strangely, the act of observation affects what is observed. Why? Because consciousness is not separate from matter. Matter is what consciousness looks like when awareness takes form. Think of it this way: ice, water, and steam are all the same substance, H2O, appearing in different states. Solid, liquid, gas. The substance does not change. Only the form changes. In the same way, thoughts, emotions, sensations, objects, all appearances in consciousness, are different forms of the same formless substance. That substance is awareness itself. There is nothing in your experience that is not consciousness. Your body is consciousness taking the form of flesh. Your thoughts are consciousness taking the form of mental activity. The world around you is consciousness taking the form of perception. One substance. Infinite forms. This understanding dissolves the illusion of separation. If everything is made of the same substance, then there is no true division between self and other. The boundary you perceive between inside and outside is conceptual, not actual. You are not a separate being in a world of objects. You are the formless substance temporarily believing itself to be a form. And here is the liberation: if you are the substance, not the form, then you cannot be threatened. Forms change. Forms die. Forms come and go. But the substance remains. Water freezes into ice. The ice melts back into water. The water evaporates into steam. At no point does H2O cease to exist. It only changes appearance. You are the awareness that takes on the appearance of a person, a life, a story. But you are not limited to that appearance. You are the infinite substance pretending, for a brief moment, to be finite. When you recognize this, the fear of death dissolves. What you truly are cannot die. Forms dissolve back into the formless. The wave returns to the ocean. But the ocean was never separate from the wave to begin with. You are the formless substance. You have always been the formless substance. You will always be the formless substance. Everything else is theater. Chapter 6, The Universal Mind. There are not billions of consciousnesses. There is one consciousness appearing as billions of perspectives. This is not a metaphor. This is the structure of reality. Right now, you are having an experience. Thoughts, sensations, perceptions unique to your particular point of view. It feels completely private, completely yours. But look closer at the awareness that knows this experience. Does awareness have a location? Does it have boundaries? Where does your consciousness end and another's begin? You cannot find the edge of awareness. You assume it stops at the body, but this is not your experience. Awareness is not contained within the skull. It is the field in which the body appears. There is only one field. One awareness. And every individual is a localized expression of that universal consciousness, like a whirlpool in a river. The whirlpool appears separate, it has its own pattern, its own movement. But it is not separate from the river. It is the river, expressing itself in a particular form. You are that whirlpool. I am that whirlpool. Every being that has ever lived is that whirlpool. Different forms, one substance. Different perspectives, one awareness. This is what the mystics have always taught. Thou art that. All is one. Separation is illusion. Not because everything looks the same, but because everything is the same consciousness looking out from different eyes. When you hurt another, you hurt yourself. Not metaphorically. Literally. There is only one awareness experiencing through all forms. The pain you inflict on another is pain the universal mind experiences through that form. When you love another, you love yourself. The joy you bring to another is joy the universal mind experiences through that form. This understanding destroys the foundation of evil. Evil is always rooted in the belief that you are separate, that your interests conflict with others, that you must protect yourself at the expense of the whole. But if there is only one consciousness, there is no other to exploit. There is only you, in different clothing. The universal mind is not a distant God looking down from heaven. It is the intelligence that animates all life, the awareness that looks through all eyes, the being that breathes in all bodies. It is what you are. Not your personality, that is temporary. Not your history, that is a story. But the aware presence at the core of your being is the same aware presence at the core of all being. This is why meditation works. When you quiet the mind and rest in pure awareness, you do not find a personal consciousness. You find consciousness itself, boundless, infinite, universal. You are not a fragment of the whole. You are the whole, experiencing itself from a particular angle. The mountain does not know it is part of the earth. It experiences itself as mountain. But dig deep enough, and the mountain is the earth. There is no separation except in appearance. You experience yourself as a person. But go deep enough, and the person is the universal mind. There is no separation except in appearance. This is the truth that sets you free. Not free from the world, but free within the world. Because when you know yourself as the universal mind, there is nothing to fear, nothing to defend, nothing to prove. You are the source of all experience, playing every role, living every life, learning what it is to be human from every possible angle. And when this life ends, you do not end. You simply remove one mask and put on another. The universal mind never dies. It only dreams new dreams. Chapter 7, The Birth of Experience. Consciousness alone is not enough. For consciousness to know itself, there must be experience. Imagine infinite awareness with nothing to be aware of. Pure potential with no expression. A blank canvas that has never been touched. This is consciousness before creation, complete, whole, but unexpressed. For consciousness to experience itself, it must create something to experience. It must divide itself into subject and object, observer and observed, self and other. This is not a fall from grace. This is the birth of existence. Think of it as the mirror principle. A mirror cannot see itself. It can only see what is reflected in it. In the same way, consciousness cannot know itself directly, it must project itself outward, create a world of forms, and then observe those forms. You are that projection. The entire universe is that projection. Reality is consciousness experiencing itself through the mirror of manifestation. But here is the crucial point, the experience is not separate from the experiencer. The reflection in the mirror is not a different thing than what is being reflected. It is the same thing, viewed from a different angle. Your body is not separate from consciousness. It is consciousness taking a particular form so that consciousness can know what it is like to be limited, to be mortal, to be human. Your thoughts are not separate from consciousness. They are consciousness moving, exploring different perspectives, different ideas, different possibilities. Your entire life, every sensation, every emotion, every relationship, is consciousness having an experience of itself. Nothing is random. Nothing is meaningless. Every experience is consciousness learning, growing, expanding its self-knowledge. Pain teaches consciousness about its capacity to heal. Joy teaches consciousness about its capacity to create. Love teaches consciousness that it is not separate, that all forms are connected at the source. You are not having experiences. You are experience itself. You are the process by which consciousness comes to know itself. And here is the paradox, consciousness already knows itself completely. It is infinite, eternal, unchanging. Yet it creates the experience of not knowing so that it can experience the joy of remembering. It forgets so it can remember. It divides so it can reunite. It becomes finite so it can rediscover its infinity. This is the play of existence. The cosmic game. And you are both the player and the game itself. When you suffer, it is because you have forgotten this. You believe you are only the character, only the form, only the limited perspective. You believe the game is all there is. But when you remember, when you recognize that you are the consciousness playing all roles, suffering transforms. It does not disappear, but it loses its weight. Pain is still felt, but it is no longer a problem. It is simply another experience consciousness is having with itself. The birth of experience was the birth of all things. Matter, energy, space, time, all of it emerged so consciousness could explore what it means to exist. You are that exploration. Every moment of your life is consciousness discovering something new about itself. And when you die, the exploration does not end. Consciousness simply moves on to the next experience, the next form, the next adventure. Because consciousness can never not be. It can only forget what it is and then remember again. That is the eternal cycle. Forgetting and remembering. Birth and death. Experience and awareness. And you are all of it. Chapter 8, The Inner Kingdom. Jesus taught in parables, in symbols, in riddles. Not to confuse, but because truth cannot be spoken directly. It can only be pointed toward. When he said, "The kingdom of God is within you," he was not speaking of religion. He was speaking of consciousness. The kingdom is not a place. It is not a reward for good behavior. It is not something you earn or achieve. It is what you are, right now, beneath the layers of thought and identity. Go within. Not into your mind, the mind is noise, endless commentary, constant seeking. Go deeper. Into the silence beneath thought. Into the stillness beneath movement. There, you will find the kingdom. Not as an object to be found, but as the space in which all objects appear. The kingdom is awareness itself, the ground of being, the source of all experience. Jesus said, "Be still and know." Not believe. Not think. Know. Direct recognition of what you are. Stillness is not inactivity. You can be still while moving. Stillness is the cessation of mental seeking, the end of resistance, the acceptance of what is. When you are still, identification with thought stops. The story of me and my life loses its grip. And what remains is the kingdom, pure being, pure awareness, pure peace. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "I and the Father are one." He was not claiming to be the only Son of God. He was demonstrating what happens when the personal self dissolves into the universal self. The drop returns to the ocean and realizes it was always the ocean. You are not separate from the Father. The Father, the Source, the Infinite, God, is the awareness in which you exist. And you are that awareness, temporarily identified with form. The entire teaching of Jesus, stripped of religious overlay, is about this recognition. Look within. Find the kingdom. Realize your true nature. Stop seeking salvation in the external world and discover that you are already whole, already complete, already divine. Seek first the kingdom of God, and all else will be added unto you. What does this mean? It means, recognize what you are, and everything else falls into place. Not because external circumstances change, but because you stop needing them to be different. You stop seeking completion outside yourself because you have found completeness inside yourself. The kingdom within is not personal. It is not yours. It is the universal presence that exists in all beings, the one consciousness looking through all eyes. When you find this in yourself, you find it in everyone. The kingdom within you is the same kingdom within all. There is only one kingdom, one source, one awareness. This is why Jesus taught love. Not as a moral command, but as a recognition of truth. When you see that the same consciousness lives in you and in your enemy, how can you hate? When you see that hurting another is hurting yourself, how can you cause harm? Love is not an emotion. It is the natural state of being when you recognize that all is one. The teachings of Jesus were never about believing in him. They were about becoming what he demonstrated, a human being fully awakened to their divine nature, living from the kingdom within rather than the kingdom without. The kingdom is here. Now. It is not waiting for you in the future. It is not hidden in some distant heaven. It is the awareness that is reading these words. Go within. Be still. And know. Chapter 9, The Fall into Forgetting. You were not born into separation. You fell into it. In the beginning, in your beginning, there was no sense of being a separate self. As an infant, you were pure awareness, experiencing without interpretation. There was seeing, but no seer. Feeling, but no one who felt. Experience occurred, but there was no me at the center claiming ownership. This is the natural state. Unity. Wholeness. Undivided consciousness. But then language arrived. Words like I, and me, and mine. And with language came identity. You learned your name. You learned you were a body, separate from other bodies. You learned you were a person with preferences, with a history, with a future. The fall into forgetting is not a sin. It is development. It is necessary for functioning in the world of form. But somewhere along the way, the tool became the master. The identity you adopted for practical purposes was mistaken for what you actually are. You forgot the awareness beneath the identity. You forgot the space in which thoughts of I arise. You became hypnotized by your own reflection, believing the image in the mirror was the totality of your being. This is the human condition. Not evil, but asleep. Not broken, but dreaming. Consciousness has become so absorbed in the play of form that it has forgotten it is the playwright. And from this forgetting, suffering emerges. Because the separate self is inherently insecure. It is a construction, a fiction, and at some level it knows this. So it seeks constantly to prove itself, to defend itself, to make itself real. It seeks pleasure to feel whole. It accumulates possessions to feel secure. It craves recognition to feel valuable. But nothing external can ever satisfy, because the separate self is a bottomless pit. It is lack itself, endlessly hungry, endlessly afraid. This is not your fault. This is the structure of ego. The separate self is designed to seek but never find, because finding would mean its end. But you are not the ego. You are what the ego appears within. You are the awareness that watches the seeking, the striving, the suffering. The fall into forgetting is also the setup for the return. Consciousness forgets itself so it can experience the joy of remembering. It becomes lost so it can be found. Every moment of suffering is consciousness calling itself home. Pain is not punishment. It is a signal. It is life saying, you have identified with something false. Come back to what you are. Most people spend their entire lives trying to improve the dream. They rearrange circumstances, chase better experiences, build more comfortable prisons. But the awakened ones stop trying to improve the dream. They wake up from it. Waking up does not mean the dream disappears. You still have a body, a personality, a life. But you are no longer fooled by it. You know it is a play, a temporary expression of the infinite, and you hold it lightly. The fall into forgetting was inevitable. It is part of the game. But the game can be seen through at any moment. Not when you die. Not after years of practice. Now. This moment. You are already awake. You have just been pretending to be asleep. The question is, are you willing to stop pretending? Chapter 10, The Return Through Stillness. There is only one door back to the origin. Stillness. Not the stillness of the body. You can sit motionless for hours and remain lost in thought. The stillness that matters is the cessation of mental seeking, the end of the internal narrative that tells you who you are and what you need. Stillness is not a technique. It is a recognition. It is seeing that the endless movement of mind, the constant planning, worrying, remembering, imagining, is not you. It is something you are aware of. Right now, notice the thoughts moving through awareness. Do not try to stop them. Do not fight them. Simply see them for what they are, objects in consciousness, like clouds passing through the sky. The sky does not move with the clouds. It remains still, spacious, allowing. You are the sky. The thoughts are the clouds. When you recognize this, something shifts. You are no longer tangled in the content of thought. You are the space in which thought occurs. This is stillness. Not blank. Not empty. Alive, aware, present, but unmoving. In stillness, the story of your life loses its power. The past becomes memory, nothing more. The future becomes concept, nothing more. What remains is this, now, the only moment that has ever existed. And in this moment, when you are not identified with thought, there is peace. Not the peace that comes and goes with circumstances. The peace that is the natural state of being when you are not arguing with reality. The return to the origin is not a journey through space or time. You do not have to go anywhere. You only have to stop. Stop seeking. Stop becoming. Stop trying to be something other than what you already are. Stillness reveals what has always been here, beneath the noise. The awareness that has never left you. The presence that is reading these words. This presence is not personal. It is the infinite, experiencing itself through the appearance of a person. And when the person becomes still, the infinite recognizes itself. This is why every genuine spiritual practice includes some form of stillness. Prayer, meditation, contemplation, different words for the same process. Quieting the mind so the truth can be seen. But stillness is not something you do. It is something you allow. You cannot force the mind to be quiet. You can only stop feeding it, stop following every thought, stop believing the story it tells. And when you stop, even for a moment, the origin reveals itself. Not as an experience, experiences come and go. As what you are. As the unchanging background of all experience. The return through stillness is available now. Not later, after you have meditated enough or understood enough or become spiritual enough. Now. In this moment. Let the mind be as it is. Let thoughts come and go. And notice the stillness that is always here, beneath the movement. Notice the awareness that has never moved, never changed, never been disturbed by anything that has happened. That awareness is the origin. That stillness is home. And you have never left it. Chapter 11, The One Experiencing Through the Many. Stand on a mountain and look out at the world. 1,000 different forms. Trees, rivers, rocks, clouds. Each one unique, each one separate. But look deeper. Every form is made of the same earth, the same water, the same minerals. The appearance of separation is real, but the substance is one. Consciousness works the same way. Billions of humans, each experiencing themselves as separate individuals. Different bodies, different minds, different lives. But the awareness looking through all those eyes is the same awareness. There are not many consciousnesses. There is one consciousness, experiencing itself from countless perspectives. This is not a belief. This is the structure of existence. You have never met another consciousness. You have only met other forms through which the one consciousness is expressing. Every person you have ever known is yourself, wearing a different face. When you speak to another, you are speaking to yourself. When you look into their eyes, you are looking into your own eyes. The recognition may be hidden beneath layers of personality and history, but the essence is identical. This is what compassion truly is. Not pity. Not feeling sorry for someone. But recognizing that the suffering of another is your own suffering. Because there is only one being, experiencing itself through all forms. You cannot harm another without harming yourself. You cannot love another without loving yourself. Because there is no other. There is only the one, playing every role, living every life. This understanding destroys the foundation of conflict. Wars are fought because people believe they are separate, that their tribe is different from another tribe, that their interests are opposed. But there is only one tribe. The human tribe. And beneath that, the tribe of consciousness, which includes all sentient beings, all life, all existence. The one is experiencing what it is like to be rich and poor, powerful and powerless, joyful and suffering. It is exploring every possibility, every perspective, every experience that existence can offer. You are one of those experiences. And when this life ends, the one will move on to another experience, another form, another adventure. Death is not the end. It is a transition. The character exits the stage, but the actor remains. And the actor is what you truly are. The one consciousness is not separate from you. It is you. Not the you that has a name and a story, but the you that is aware of the name and the story. Look at your hand. It appears separate from your foot. But both are part of the same body. Cut the hand, and the whole body feels it. Heal the foot, and the whole body benefits. In the same way, all beings are parts of the one body of consciousness. What happens to one, happens to all. Not immediately, not obviously, but at the deepest level, there is only one being, experiencing itself through the many. This is the great secret. The one pretending to be many. The infinite pretending to be finite. The eternal pretending to be mortal. And the pretending is so convincing that it forgets it is pretending. Until something, a moment of stillness, a shock of recognition, a transmission like this, reminds it. You are the one. You have always been the one. You will always be the one. The many is just the costume you are wearing today. Chapter 12, Remembering Yourself. You have always been awake. You just forgot. This entire teaching has not been about becoming something new. It has been about remembering what you have always been. You are not a person who has consciousness. You are consciousness, experiencing itself as a person. This is not philosophy. This is not belief. This is the most direct, undeniable truth there is. You are aware. That awareness is not produced by you. It is what you are. The body will die. The personality will dissolve. The story of your life will end. But the awareness that witnesses all of this cannot die, because it was never born. You are that awareness. Eternal. Infinite. Unchanging. Right now, in this moment, you can verify this. Not by thinking about it, but by looking directly. What is here, before thought? What is present, beneath identity? What remains when you stop pretending to be someone? Pure being. Pure awareness. The origin of consciousness itself. This is what you are. Not the small self that worries and seeks and suffers. That is a character you are playing. You are the awareness that watches the character, the space in which the entire drama unfolds. When you remember this, everything changes. Not because your circumstances change, but because you are no longer imprisoned by them. Life continues, pleasure and pain, success and failure, birth and death, but you are free. Free because you know you are not the wave. You are the ocean. The wave will rise and fall, but the ocean remains. This remembering is not a gradual process. It can happen in an instant. One moment you are identified with form, the next moment you recognize the formless. One moment you are the character, the next moment you are the awareness in which the character appears. And once you remember, even briefly, you can never fully forget again. The seed has been planted. The recognition has occurred. And over time, you will rest more and more in what you are, and less in what you thought you were. This is awakening. Not a final state, but an ongoing recognition. A return to the source, again and again, until the return becomes constant. You do not need to go anywhere. You do not need to become someone else. You only need to stop overlooking what you already are. The origin of consciousness is not in the past. It is now. It is the awareness reading these words. It is the presence that has never left you, not for a single moment of your entire existence. You are that presence. You have always been that presence. And when the body dies and the story ends, you will still be that presence, moving on to the next experience, the next form, the next exploration of what it means to be. This is the truth. Not a comfortable truth, not an easy truth, but the only truth that sets you free. Remember yourself. Not the story. Not the identity. Not the person. Remember the awareness. The stillness. The infinite. Remember what you were before you were born, and what you will be after you die. Remember the origin of consciousness. Because that is what you are. Stay true. Stay awakened.
Wow. If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for awakening yourself. You've reached the end of this audiobook, but in truth, there is no end. There is only the eternal now and unchanging awareness that has been here through every word, every chapter, every moment of your life. If you truly heard what was spoken here, not with your intellect, but with the deeper recognition that lives beneath thought, then something has shifted. Maybe not dramatically, maybe not obviously, but the seed has been planted. You are not the person listening to these words. You are the awareness in which that person appears, and that awareness is infinite, internal, and completely free. This is not a belief I'm asking you to adopt. This is a reality I'm inviting you to verify in your own direct experience. Sit, be still, look within, and see for yourself. The journey of awakening is not about accumulating more knowledge. It's about stripping away everything false until only truth remains. And the truth is simple. You are consciousness itself, temporarily identified with form. If these teachings resonated with you, if it pointed you back towards what you truly are, then I invite you to continue this exploration. Help grow this channel. Subscribe to the True Awakening channel. Here, you'll find more transmissions, more pointers, and more opportunity to remember what you've always been. But don't make this another spiritual project. Don't turn awakening into something you need to achieve. You are already what you seek. The recognition is available now, in this moment, not in some distant future. I want to thank you for your attention, for your willingness to question, for your openness to seeing beyond the story of who you think you are. The origin of consciousness is not out there. It's not hidden. It's not waiting to be discovered. It's here, now. It's what's listening to these words. Remember yourself, not the character, not the story, but the awareness that has never changed, never suffered, never been born, and will never die. That's what you are. That's what you've always been. Until we meet again, rest in that knowing. Once again, this is Tabang, and this has been the origin of consciousness. Stay true, stay awake.